Hi, and welcome to episode 56 of M1 Yarns and the Michigan Makers podcast. I'm Jamie, your host and the dyer behind m1yarns.com. And today I'm doing a quick intro to a video that I know you're going to love. I had the pleasure of volunteering at Mitchell Wool Company last weekend. I'm recording this in mid-January. I went with a girlfriend and a whole bunch of other volunteers, and we helped to skirt the fleece that were sheared off the sheep at Mitchell Wool Co. for their shearing day, which is an annual event. And then at the end of the shearing day, I sat down with owners Sherry and Luke for an interview that I think you'll really love. Real quick, I just wanted to thank my patrons over on patreon.com for their financial support, which helped make this interview possible, as well as other, what I like to call field trip interviews and events. And you can join my Patreon page for as little as $1 a month. And I just want to say again, thank you to my patrons. And I'd also like to thank the folks over at Mitchell Wool Company, Sherry, Cindy, and Luke, for taking the time to chat with me, give me a tour, educate me on all sorts of sheep-related things. I really appreciated their time and their effort, and I really just hope you'll go check them out. I've linked below their socials, their website, and all that good stuff so you can get them a follow. Obviously, I got me some swag while I was there, this sweatshirt along with a mug. They also have adorable stickers, which I'm trying to figure out if I want it on my laptop or my water bottle. But anyway, definitely check out their website because in addition to swag, they have beautifully naturally dyed yarn that comes from their sheep. I hope you'll enjoy this interview, which throughout I sprinkle photos and video of my tour of their farm. It was really an epic day, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. So let's dive in. So here we are at Mitchell Wool Company. Did I get it right?
Yep.
Mitchell Wool
You did.
Co.
Mitchell Wool Co. It's officially Mitchell Wool Company, but we're usually just Mitchell Wool Co.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're here in Dryden, Michigan, not too far from Detroit-ish.
Yeah, it takes us about 25 minutes to get to Royal Oak.
Yeah. All right.
The thing about us is that we're deep in the country on dirt roads. So Oxford is 8 miles away, and it takes 20 minutes to get to Oxford, but it takes 20 minutes to get to Rochester because we're closer to Rochester.
Yeah. So you're close enough to civilization, if you will.
Yes.
That if you want to, shop.
Starbucks.
You want certain amenities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
you
not.
You got to go to town, right? You got to go to town.
Yeah. Nice. So why don't you walk us through who you are and how it got started?
Well, so I'm the mom. Luke is my oldest son. He's technically my stepson, but we kind of don't really differentiate like that in our family. Mm-hmm. It started with I wanted sheep, just enough sheep to knit my own sweater because I learned to knit only in 2018.
Okay.
And went off the deep end and was really into farm yarn, and I just wasn't finding what I wanted. I particularly wanted to know about the farmer, about the sheep that grew it. So as our family tends to do, when we get into something, we go full bore right off the end of the dock into the deep end. So we got 3 sheep.
Yep, got at my place.
For a year, we had 3 sheep, yes.
All females or like?
They're
all females.
Yes.
Okay.
All used. They were Finn sheep.
Yep. We found a great Finn breeder over by, I guess it technically Jackson
area.
Yeah.
Which is Amy Swinson.
Amy Berkeley.
Oh, Berkeley, that's right, of Overland Farm, and she breeds Finns and Finn crosses, and we just wanted pets, and I really liked the characteristic of the Finn.
Well, she promised me a sweater if I got sheep.
I did. That was the deal. So I wanted some sheep, and we already had goats, and my husband Paul was like, I don't really want sheep. We've already got goats. So I talked Luke into getting them because he lives up the road from us. And the deal was, if we get the sheep, if you house them, I will knit you a sweater.
That's a pretty good deal.
It's a great
totally
deal.
a good deal.
When you get the
Except
sweater.
you haven't gotten the sweater.
I mean, like, it's this big.
It's a
Yeah.
mini skirt.
So,
Yeah.
like, instead, she could knit, like, you have a baby.
Yeah.
Like,
that
you
wasn't
didn't
the deal.
specify
That
the
wasn't
sweater
the
had to be
deal.
for you.
That wasn't the deal.
And I did knit
Baby
a
was not-
sweater for your child.
Well, I was told I was getting the sweater. But anyway, I digress.
So
You might get, like, a sleeve and
he's
another
got like
sleeve.
a tube top currently.
God.
So 2020 happened. My husband was facing retirement, and he had always been a CEO, and he just couldn't really fathom the idea of not doing something. So he's like, oh, well, let's get a few more sheep. Let's like make some yarn. That'll be fun. So 2020 happened, in March. And by May, they were crossing state lines with approvals from state livestock authorities during COVID, and we had 24.
But we determined we wanted to do Cormo and Tarki, though.
Yeah, we
versus, like,
wanted
Finn and that
American
kind of stuff.
fine wool breeds,
So
and we
neat-
wanted to be breed specific.
Okay, so needless to say, you weren't bored in March of 2020.
No.
Well, and at that time, I still had a full-time job outside of the farm. So.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so did Paul at that time. 24, then they lambed, became 46, which is what we sheared last year. That was last year in the 2021 shearing. We sheared 46. Today we sheared 116. Of them, what about 32 to 34 are pregnant?
Oh, at least, yes.
At least, probably 30 to 40 are pregnant, which means that we're going to be at 175 to 200 by
March.
summer.
Yeah.
They're coming
They just
March
keep
1st.
multiplying.
They do, and that's even with us being very careful and selective with our breeding. Not everybody gets bred.
It's all about, we want to improve the genetics of the species instead of just continuing to breed them. So we pick our rams based off the microns, their feet, how gentle they are, and things like that. We want characteristics in which it makes it easier for us to use.
And for those not familiar with your business, you are very vocally intentional about everything to make sure you're doing things for a reason and the right way. And
exactly. So one of our funny tagline is "for flock's sake," and that's because we are a profane family, with the exception of Cindy, who is really well behaved. But Luke and I,
you got to have a black sheep.
Yeah, exactly. Luke and I and the rest of the Mitchell family are pretty profane. So "for flock's sake" is a double entendre because, of course, FFS. But also, it really is what we're about. It's the flock above everything.
Yeah.
So it's for flock's sake, for planet's sake. And that's the other tenet of our foundation, is that we dye only with plants. We don't do any superwash. We have a closed loop water system. In fact, our dye stuff is natural enough that we feed it back to our pigs.
Yeah.
It's all completely, we're not organic because we do give our animals medicine when they need it. But our animal welfare standards are really high. And Adamar Shearer was just saying, it's really a compliment when the shearer who sees all the flocks in the neighboring area, he was saying, like, so-and-so has this breed also, but they don't care for theirs like you do. Which doesn't mean that they're not great farmers.
Yeah.
It just means that our flock is our family.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a name.
And
that's what we're about.
We may do meat with our business and everything, but it doesn't mean we don't love the animals. We love them. We care for them every single day till the last day. We choose a butcher.
Abattoir is the butcher that also dispatches them.
They are certified in humane practices. We want to make sure our animals aren't hurting. We want to make sure that just because they're going to the butcher, that they're not being mistreated.
Yeah.
So
that matters to us immensely. So everything is for flock's sake, for planet's sake, for community's sake. We're all about embracing community. And that's one thing that I really love about, especially the Michigan vendors, is I think there's a wonderful group of like 10 of us or so who we're not in competition with each other.
Yeah.
We're in community with each other, and what we do is totally different from what you do, which is different from what Fresh Lotus does, and Why Not Fibers. And I think all of us are really in it for the right reason of servicing our customers and building a sense of community.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. It's not what I expected it to be.
It's not at all. I thought when we became a business and outside of the farm and things, it was going to be very competitive and like hush hush, don't talk about things, and it's not at all. Which I'm amazed at the openness of people. So.
Which I'm so happy about, because anyone producing on wool is benefiting the planet.
Sure.
Whether they believe in the same process that we do or not, it's still disrupting the fast fashion, petroleum-based stream. And I think every effort has its value and every effort matters. And I love that about the sense of community. It's just incredible.
So I'm assuming the learning curve was pretty high.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the most...
We made so many mistakes.
I mean, that's the best way to learn. But what was the most shocking lesson so far?
Most shocking? Boy, that's a terrific question. I think initially, we probably have different answers for this. Initially, it was really important to me that the animals would die a natural life on the farm. And I really wanted to be organic as much as possible.
And can I stop you there?
Yes.
What is the average lifespan of a sheep?
About 10 to 12 years. It's similar to a medium-sized dog.
Okay.
And Luke can explain what, kind of what it is toward the end that gets them. Our first set of sheep that we bought, the first 24, we were hoodwinked by a farm, and we basically rescued these animals. We got someone's calls, and they came with a terrible hoof rot problem, which we brought onto our pristine, healthy virgin soil. And literally by day 3, my dreams of being an organic farm were gone, because it was an animal welfare issue, in that I needed to give our ram, Bubba Gump, everything that he needed for treatment, which was pain meds, and it was antibiotics, and it was topical hoof meds, and all of those things. And it was a split-second decision of my big dream of being this organic farm was out the window because my sheep needed it.
Yeah.
So I think reevaluating your goals. I also had the misconception that the humane thing was to let an animal live a natural life. And of course, opinions vary, and what somebody does on their farm is not my business, nor how they parent their kids is not my business. It's not actually humane to be a no-kill farm, because that means that an animal that is suffering is being made to live for what I believe is your own comfort level.
Yeah.
So we make hard decisions on the farm. And I think there's a lot more of that than ever shows up in the pictures. And we try to be really transparent about it. But just after Christmas, we lost our beloved bottle lamb, Eddie, who lived in my house for 3 weeks, because just a real tragedy happened. And that meant that the kindest thing we rushed him to Michigan State, which is the emergency vet in Michigan for the high level stuff. I mean, the easy decision would have been to put him down.
Yeah.
But just an example of what we do. We rushed him to Michigan State for the best treatment possible. I mean, was it economical? No. But we stopped those decisions a long time ago. What had happened was he was attacked by 2 of our guardian dogs, which was really tragic, because they were our dogs.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was all 3 of them had to be put down.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it wouldn't have been ethical to keep the dogs and not let them live with the sheep.
Right.
They weren't pets.
Yeah.
And that was a really hard decision to make, because we loved him. We loved them.
Yeah.
We didn't blame them. It was just some unforeseen turn of events.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is when you have livestock, you have dead stock. And that's kind of an old farmer adage. And that just means that you can make plans, but crap happens, and you have to make hard decisions that you have to just farmer up and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about what is like the most different than what you thought it would be?
I always thought sheep were a little more hardy animals. They're very stoic in that they don't show disease or being hurt or having problems until it's like they're going to die.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that part of the animal. Our one vet, and I love our vet. She's amazing. It's like sheep like to find a way to die.
And other shepherds told us the same thing. A sheep's greatest hobby is trying to die.
But they don't show if they're hurt or sick. So you have to be a very good steward of watching your animals to notice that this one isn't going as fast to the feed that it did for the last week.
Yeah.
Or, hey, this one kind of has a little limp to it that looks a little bit different than what it has been. And then you realize that it has a broken side of the hoof, or, its pad is punctured, or
or
something
stepped on a rock between their toes or something like that.
It's just, they're very stoic, but they find ways to die sometimes, and it's just not. Yeah.
And it's just a matter of, you have to have your eyes on every single animal on your farm every day of its life, and ideally more than once a day.
Yeah.
It is, we are just constantly shepherding the sheep, and Luke is the one who does it 98% of the time. I'm in the office, but
it's hard to do too, because we're running a farm, but we're also running a wool company, so we're running two businesses basically.
Yeah, and you're on the road a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
It's something that you choose, I think, because you believe in the mission.
Yeah.
More than
the daily irritation and work.
Yes. I mean, the joke about farming is, if you want to make $1 million, start with 4 million.
Yeah.
We're not going to get rich doing this. It's just a labor of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in addition to the sheep, you have some other animals, and you have a beautiful property here.
Thank you.
Wow.
You want to tell them a little bit about what we have and why?
So, yeah, absolutely. So we, after we got the sheep, we discussed, my father's dream was always to have some cattle on the farm for beef. Everything on our farm exists for a reason. We don't want lawn ornaments and things like that. So we have Highland cattle. We have one British white cow, which we just loved how she looked. So we'll take her too. And then over at my farm, which is about half a mile down the road, we have some belted Galloway cattle.
Okay.
And the Highland cattle currently are for breeding stock to increase the size of that herd. The belted Galloways over at my property being raised for meat production for next year.
Okay.
With farming, everything has to do with making sure you have a cycle after another cycle of a way to make income, but also for your livestock to continue on.
Right.
So this year, unfortunately, we had 3 bull calves from our Highland cattle. So we're hoping to sell them as proven stock to other people. Highlands they're great animals. I mean,
they're wonderful animals, and our preference is always to sell a live animal that can go live a wonderful quality life at another farm. And when he says, unfortunately, we had bulls, because that means our herd didn't grow at all.
Yeah.
We need females to produce more to grow the herd, and we don't want to be big, but it's more of what our land can support in balance. Because the thing is having just sheep is only putting one type of nutrient into our soil. And all of this is about bringing back the health of our soil. It's called regenerative farming.
Well, and the cattle will eat a different kind of grass, different quality grass than the sheep will.
Okay.
But also the parasites. Sheep have issues with different parasites than cattle will.
Okay.
So the cattle can cycle into that pasture after the sheep and not get parasites from the sheep being in there prior. So it's just a way of continuing to use our pastures.
Yeah, maximize your land and
maximize the land. Do what's best for the animals. Do what's best for the soil, and do the least amount of chemical intervention. We don't do any fertilizers or things like that beyond the compost system that is in our barn. We have a new
system for our new lambing barn that we take all the waste from the animals and push it into this backstop that then all the water drains into. So now we have liquid fertilizer we can use instead of using chemical fertilizers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this year, I know when Cindy took us around, there's the old barn.
The last Mortison Tenon barn, century barn that was built in the state of Michigan. Now, Mortison Tenon is the type where they're great big beams and everything's wood. There's no nails, that kind of stuff. They added on so there's nails in there. Yeah. But the original building, it's like over 100 and some years old.
And a couple little outlying buildings, and then the lambing barn is a new addition this year. And as well as this building.
This building was built last year, and it was initially built
2 years ago.
Or 2 years ago. I'm sorry. The years are such a circle of scheduling that I kind of run them together. My husband initially built this as like a hobby barn thing for his race car. But very quickly, we realized that with the number of sheep we had, we would never fit in our basement. I think we were in my basement for a week and we're like, this isn't going to work. We need to go to the barn. So when we first moved in here, we had a little tiny corner and we're like, this is huge and we'll never outgrow it. And we're bursting at the seams right now. The area that we're sitting in will be our new retail on-farm shop, and we're putting a door in so that it's a separate door and people don't have to walk past the equipment and potentially the tractor and the saw and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the big investment this year was building the lambing barn.
Okay.
Which maybe you can give a 5-second explanation of why it's better for that.
The lambing barn we built almost be self-sustaining, but also it's an open floor plan. We have cattle panels and hog panels that we've cut into size to make pens depending on what size we need.
Okay.
So we can hook to the wall to another wood piece. It's just so we can configure for lambing time, then move the lambs, the mom, to a general quarters area, and then move other sheep on in. Along with all our water troughs are actually cemented into the ground.
Yeah, that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
It is a major labor reduction for us. So we really built that barn with Luke's management brain in mind of what would be easiest for us. So like today,
the water troughs, when we open up the availability to drain it, it all drains into that manure area, which then helps move the stuff around.
Full cycle.
But we also can go in with the tractors and purely pull out all the waste out of there and then put more straw back down.
Makes a very clean system for them. They always have clean water. They always have clean bedding. And it's that's always what you're trying to do as a farmer, but it makes it easier on us to achieve that.
Yeah. It's a lot less labor to just purely drive your tractor in there, pull it out, put new bedding down, and then go to your next.
So today was shearing day, and we're here in mid-January. And talk a little bit about why you shear now
in the middle of the winter. Yes, because that is the one question that everyone has asked me, and it kind of, I know they think we're crazy. They're like, why are you doing it now? Because it's cold. So it is, the short answer is it's for animal welfare, and it backs up from when the lambs are born. So the lambs are born the beginning of March. When the first time we did this, we lambed at the end of March, beginning of April. And another shepherd friend of ours was doing an experiment of moving up her lambing earlier in the year because the biggest thing that will harm your lambs is when they go out and eat that fresh grass, it's parasites. Their stomachs, being called the rumen, are too young to be able to process the parasites. So either you have to load them up with meds and antibiotics, or you need to keep them off the ground. It's just, it's the one thing that will kill lambs particularly.
Yes, very quick too.
So, and she lives in Minnesota, which is an even colder climate than we do.
Right.
So I reached out, and she's a mentor to us, and kind of talked to her about it. And she was having really great success with it. So last year we lambed mid-March.
Yeah, I'd say mid-March.
Yeah.
Maybe the second week of March.
So we bumped it up 2 weeks last year. And this year we're lambing the 1st of March. So the reason that we're shearing today is because we need to shear about 4 to 6 weeks ahead of when the moms deliver the babies. Because basically they're pregnant and they're starting to get bellies, and it's uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
That also shearing ahead of lambing means that they're clean and the lambs don't have to search for wool. The yuck of birth isn't in there.
Yeah.
So it's really all about the lambs.
The stress of a birth can also sometimes make the wool felt or have wool break on them.
Yeah.
Which will decrease the fineness of the wool and everything like that. So it's all about the animal, but
it is,
if they're having a hard birth, that can damage the wool.
Yep. Right. So multiple questions about that. And then the follow-up question is, aren't they cold? So because we have the lambing barn and we were able to put literally the entire flock into it today, it easily will hold 200 sheep, this barn. We're able to put them in and keep them warm for about a week or so until they generate the lanolin. The lanolin is what waterproofs the sheep and keeps them warm and dry and cool.
Yeah.
So once they replace their lanolin, it'll take about a week to come back, and depending on what the weather's like, they're going to be inside, which they're mad about.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, right now they're okay. They're excited that they just dropped off that weight. They love to get shorn.
Yeah.
But
and they need to get shorn.
Yes.
they have to. They'll die if they don't. That's another animal
you
welfare
hear, like,
thing.
horrible stories about people not doing what's needed. And
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like
Yes.
Shannon and don't understand it.
Yeah, and I feel like that's all just misinformation.
It's totally misinformation because they liken it to, well, some sheep shed. Well, that's not a wool sheep, that's a hair sheep. And they're like, well, wouldn't it be better if you just left them alone? And no, it's not. That would be like expecting a golden retriever to live the life of a wolf.
Right.
A dog who's
these are
domesticated.
Yeah.
These are domesticated sheep.
And just like some dogs need to go to the groomer, some don't.
Exactly.
But you got to do what's right for
Yes.
this specific animal.
For sure. Yep.
So you shear once a year and you lamb once a year. And then later in the year, you're super busy with fiber festivals.
Yes. So we, another thing that's good about, it's not really a factor, but it's a benefit of choosing to shear this early is that it takes a very long time to process wool.
Yeah.
So on the other side, and I'm sure you're going to show in pictures with the podcast, are bins and bins of wool that's called in the grease. In the grease means that it's dirty and it's full of lanolin. Our volunteers have been skirting it, which means cleaning it, picking the straw, the hay, and the poop out of it so that it's ready to go to the mill.
Which has revolutionized my cuticles today.
I know. Isn't it amazing?
Yes.
Yeah. Now you know why they're so happy to be outside.
Love it.
So cozy.
Which is a byproduct also of the wool industry is lanolin, which goes into a lot of different skincare products itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a natural.
Nothing better than nature.
No, definitely not. So we have a fast turnaround for our fiber, but that fast turnaround is 5 months.
Yeah.
That is lightning speed. Typically, it takes a year to produce wool. So we get it back clean and spun into yarn, and then we dye it ourselves using plants, some of which are grown on the farm.
We also skein it too, though. We get it in
we do.
The cones.
We get it in cones.
Oh,
we skein it ourselves.
Yep.
Cool.
We like it a little more precise. So we skein it ourselves, and then Cindy dyes it with plants. And then we twist it in hanks and design all of our own labels and get it ready for sale.
Awesome. So in addition to skeins and awesome shirts and gorgeous mugs and fun stickers, Cindy makes bags.
Yes, she does.
Incredible bags.
Incredible bags. It's called her 3 primary bags are the Sherry sweater bag, which is a sweater size project bag. We have a really simple bag without anything in it. A lot of people buy it as a handbag. It's called the Simple Tote. That's a really affordable one. And then she makes her one-of-a-kind custom bags. The one that's super popular right now is the Knit Night bag, which is made from repurposed Hudson Bay blankets. All of our, all of the wool that goes into our bags is either dead stock or repurposed blankets. We try to be as
put to use.
Yes, we try to be as zero waste as possible. Like if this blanket hangs around long enough, it will become a bag.
Yeah.
At some point.
Can I just put my name down for it?
I know, isn't this so great? Especially when it has fringe.
Yes, I love it.
The fringe on the top is great. Yeah.
You guys always have an incredible booth at every show that I've, been vending at alongside you, and it's just gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. We try to give people the on-farm experience as much as possible.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what's in the year ahead? What's your 5-year plan or your 10-year plan?
Ooh, that's tough. There is a
plans go out the window real quick.
Right? Yeah. We have a big announcement to make soon that we can't really talk about yet, but it's big.
Okay.
It's big about widening our sense of community.
Yes.
That's our big plan. That is something that kind of wasn't initially in November. That wasn't our plan.
Yep.
But it was a need, and again, we just jumped in. We'll be going to about 200 sheep, and that's really the limit of what our land will support. And we're not about the numbers; we're about the proper experience for the animal and what's best for our land.
Yeah.
Becoming more sustainable in terms of feeding our own family. And people like to have a connection to their wool. I mean, that's just kind of what we're about. And the more that we can educate and explain to people why we do what we do, for me, I would love to see more farms doing it.
Yeah.
That would not hurt us at all. That's better for the planet.
We do a lot of on-farm tours. We do field trips. And I enjoy doing a lot of that stuff because a lot of the kids that we get to come in have never actually been to a true farm.
Yeah.
And they'll see one of the cows and be like, oh, there's a cow. Yeah, that's where your hamburger came from.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. It's just, I like the educational part of it.
Mm-hmm. And also teaching the kid that the poops from the cow are super important to the planet. So we explain how we need cow's poop to feed the soil or the soil can't eat and the soil will die, So it's really wonderful to make future stewards of land with little kids. That's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun when a school bus pulls up. The sheep are starting to get wise to it too, because they're like, oh, there's going to be kids coming.
Yeah, they kind of know how to pose.
Oh, they do, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really smart.
Sure,
they are.
On that.
Yeah.
I'll look this way.
I know. Some of them really know, like Betty will turn her face.
Oh.
Yeah. Sheep are, all animals are smart. They're excellent judges.
They all have
character.
personalities.
Yes. That's another thing I didn't really realize about sheep was that their personalities are as diverse as a group of 100 humans.
Well, because we get asked a lot for tours, like, well, which breed of sheep is your favorite? And honestly, I can't answer which breed specifically I like more. It's the individual sheep.
Yeah.
There's a couple Cormos that I just absolutely love because they're friendly, and like every time you come, look up to the gate. It doesn't matter if you have a treat or not. And then there's some Tarhees, but I have noticed the Tunis. We just added Tunis to our flock this year. They are a friendly group.
Yeah, they're really friendly. Yes, and they're so all of the animals on our farm are heritage breeds. Most of them are on the Livestock Conservancy critically endangered list, and that's kind of a foundation of bringing back those old breeds rather than like factory farming.
Yeah,
like our pigs are an old breed, not the big pink pigs you see at the fair. These animals, they're just different.
Yeah.
They're different. They have personalities. They're smart.
Some are difficult.
The ones that love him are
just like people.
Some are really difficult. And every time we give them the name of a strong female, it just shoots us in the foot. Like, I love it. Like RBG is just a nightmare to deal with, but I love that about her. Luke does not love it about her. I love it in theory.
So are there introverts and extroverts amongst the herd?
Totally.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's some that would just love to be left alone. I'm just going to eat over here. And then some that are.
We'll run from across the pasture.
I want you to scratch my ears.
Yes.
So it just depends on the sheep.
And some want their cheeks scratched and others want their shoulder, and you learn who they are. And there's some bonded to him who are not bonded to me.
Sure.
And vice versa.
Yeah. It's like I have 2 dogs. One goes to my husband, one goes to
me. Exactly.
Even though I feed them more than he does.
I know, right? Exactly. That's always how it works. Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for having me today. This was really fun. And where can we find you online?
So our socials for everything, which is Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, are all at Mitchell Wool Co. So it's MITCHELL Wool, WOOLCO. Same for YouTube as well. I forgot YouTube. Our website is mitchellwool.com.
Okay. And you guys do a newsletter, I assume?
We do. Yep. We do an email newsletter, which you can sign up for either through our link tree through Instagram. You can sign up on the website.
So in case people want to get that big announcement.
Yeah. And then we've been doing a lot more on YouTube. We do a Monday morning coffee chat, which we kind of just talk about what we're planning on doing for the week, and then until the animals decide that they want to mess with us, and then it gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
But then we also started a Friday happy hour where we talk about what happened that week. Did we get to do the stuff that we wanted to? That we discussed.
I love that.
So we're trying to be transparent. We're trying to be engaging. People can ask questions in which then we'll answer and things like that. So.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
I think we have kind of a funny dynamic here too, because it is a family farm. That's, I think the thing I love the most is that the whole family is together at lunchtime around the table.
Yeah.
And all the dynamic that happens with that, the banter, and nobody fights though. It's just a wonderful culture. Yeah. It's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys will check out Mitchell Wool Co. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the
Yeah.
opportunity. Thanks for the help.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. This was awesome.